be joining us as we proceed. All right. Well, first of all, I want to welcome everyone to our Oklahoma NSF EPSCoR Professional Development Seminar. So today our focus will be on NSF Career Awards. And as you can see on the screen, my name is Kevin Wagner, and I'll serve as your moderator and host today. But I serve as the director of the Oklahoma Water Resources Center, as well as the Oklahoma NSF EPSCoR program. And through that program, I've had the privilege to work with the four panelists over the last 5 years. And several of the panelists have received their NSF Career Awards during that project period. So this is something I've been wanting to do for a while. We're very proud of the success that our researchers have had with that program, and really want to highlight and share with others, how they can be successful too. So that's really the purpose of today. So real quickly, I'll let them introduce themselves a little bit more here in a second, but we have four panelists today. We have Dr. Arif Sadri. He's an associate professor in the School of Civil Engineering and Environmental Science at the University of Oklahoma. We have Elinor Martin, an associate professor in the School of Meteorology, University of Oklahoma. Dr. Paul Moses, an associate professor in the School of Electrical and Computer Engineering at the University of Oklahoma. And last but not least, we have Dr. Tiantian, an associate professor in the School of Civil Engineering and Environmental Science at the University of Oklahoma. So the way we're going to format this is I'll give each one of our panelists an opportunity to introduce themselves and their career awards. And then I've got a few questions for them about, some of their tips and the process that they took for developing their successful career proposals. And then we'll open it up for questions for all of you that are here today to find out more, and maybe some issues that you've dealt with. Maybe they can provide some good insights for you on that. So with that, we'll start off with Arif. Would you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your career project?
Sure, Kevin, thank you. And hello, everyone. As Kevin introduced, my name is Arif. I'm an associate professor in the School of Civil Engineering and Environmental Science at the University of Oklahoma. So I joined OU back in 2022, January. Before that, I was at Florida International University. Uh, so for my research, I try to do bottom-up research looking at disasters when it comes to infrastructure, how we deal with infrastructure. So I'm an engineer by training, but my research is also heavy on social science and network science. So for my career proposal, building on my dissertation that I have completed at Purdue University, I propose to look at how people share disaster risk information in so many different ways, because we know that people have different ways to communicate the risk, and we have different frequency of disasters, different intensity. So how does it translate into who is responsible for what and what time? So there are many decision sequences that are important, and also it is also important that by knowing these decisions, how we can translate that into infrastructure utilization. For example, people are trying to evacuate. Do they have the evacuation route available? Do they even know about it? So that's kind of the problem I was trying to look at. So for that, more specifically, I have proposed to look into the social networks, face-to-face and online social networks people utilize as they communicate this risk, and then uh, the how 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 people use different set of information sources. One is the how you communicate the information, but then they also use a number of sources that either they trust or they don't trust it, and depending on that, they are making protective action decisions. And the last objective I have in my career project is to develop some decision-making models and then align it with a decision support framework to understand overall system-wide impact in the communities as people face different types of disaster. I was trained by hurricanes, but for this NSF career project, I proposed to look at different types of disasters of different forms, wildfire, tornadoes, and Oklahoma is a great study area for all these disasters to study. So with that, Kevin, back to you.
Great, thank you. Elinor, let's go to you next.
Okay, thank you. So my name's Elinor Martin. My pronouns are she, hers. I've been faculty since 2014, and so I submitted my career proposal in 2019. So I guess I'm an elder career proposal recipient. So my work is really at trying to understand rainfall at the very core. So we know rainfall varies on different timescales, changes from day to day, month to month, year to year. So my career proposal was really focused on understanding and predicting how these different timescales interact with each other. So not just thinking about one at a time, but thinking about how the interactions help change rainfall and the extremes. So a lot of it is focused around that and the physical understanding, but kind of the big goal was doing this while building science identity in students and our workforce. So really thinking about how people see themselves as scientists and doing that through this lens of rainfall, which affects everybody in day-to-day life. So the very broad scale, that's what my career proposal was designed to do.
Great, thank you, Elinor. Paul, we'll go to you next.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Paul Moses. I'm an associate professor in the School of Electrical and Computer Engineering at the University of Oklahoma. I've been here since 2017. And prior to that, I was at Old Dominion University in Norfolk, Virginia. My area of specialization is electrical power grids and resiliency in grids and electromagnetic transient disturbances. So that background led to my applying for the NSF career proposal, which I did in 2021, got rejected, applied again in 2022, and it got accepted. And that proposal is on the impacts of solar storms, solar disturbances like what causes the aurora borealis, how that impacts the functioning of the electrical grid, because that electromagnetic disturbances can impact the grid. And more than that, what happens when it interacts with the grid when we have high penetration of renewables? That's really where the novelty of this project is, because prior to that, the phenomenon of solar storms has been well studied for over 100 years on a traditional grid without renewables. So really, my light bulb moment is, okay, what happens when you have mostly renewables on the grid? And that led to me writing that proposal, and I think that's why I got funded. Because there's very little knowledge base on what would happen when you have high penetration of renewables, wind and solar mainly. So that was funded in 2022, and the project is developing in one of the things is developing improved models, modeling the system, and validating those models with small scale experiments in my laboratory. And then the long range problems would be, how do you mitigate it if it happens, if you have this disruption in the power grid? Is there anything we can do to reconfigure the grid so that it can withstand those kind of disturbances without collapsing? And how do we change energy policy and standards to accommodate these new operating conditions in our power grid? So that's really the project. There's a strong, of course, as you know, educational component. So we can talk about that later, but that would support that research with undergraduate, graduate STEM education, K to 12, all that. So yeah, that's really all that is to my proposal. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Wow, all of your research is so fascinating. I'd love to hear a lot more. Tiantian, we'll go to you to tell a little bit about your research.
Sure. Thanks, Kevin. And my name is Tiantian Yang. So by training, I'm a hydrologist and also a water resources engineer. So the nature of my research, basically, I study the movement, distribution, and flows of freshwater resources all the way from atmosphere to surface and subsurface, and also slightly groundwater. And also I study how the water will cycle and all the way through rainfall, fall on the ground, and all the way infiltrate into the soil, and then become a stream flow, and then flow back to the ocean. So by the nature of research, I do a lot of modeling. I study many natural and built systems. For example, those natural water systems in terms of connected rivers, streams, ponds, and lakes, as well as those human-built engineering infrastructures, such as reservoirs and dams. And so my career project is actually looking at the connections among all those systems, and especially to investigate how different systems will confront each other and interact and feedback to each other, especially how the climate change and the weather extremes will impact the rainfall patterns, as Dr. Martin mentioned. And then I study basically the downstream of Dr. Martin's research. See, once we know there are uncertainties and errors in the rainfall observation and model projections, how we are going to do with those errors and biases, and from the hydrology perspective, can we better estimate the water resources in streams and lakes using those known errors and patterns, and also how we shall incorporate those future information with the uncertainties into the existing way of how we operate those reservoir and dams infrastructure. And from the methodology perspective, my career project focuses on AI and machine learning. That's also what I do since my PhD. We are going to look at how AI tools will help with the subseasonal to seasonal rainfall forecast. Can whether those models make the forecast better and more reliable or trustful, and then how AI tool can help with the reservoir and water resources decision making to incorporate those uncertainty information into the operation. And also, as known fact that all the infrastructure, water, especially the water infrastructure of the reservoirs and dams in the United States, they are almost aging quite a bit, and most of the dams were built about 80 to even 100 years old. Those existing way of managing those reservoirs and dams, they face a lot of challenges, especially given the more frequent weather extremes and those natural hazards, as Dr. Sadri mentioned. So this is really how my career project will come into, and to use some of the new advanced AI technique, machine learning and deep learning techniques to help with our understanding about the uncertainty from hydrology perspective, and how we can use that to assist the decision making of our water infrastructure. So that's the brief introduction of my career project.
Great, thank you. So before we get into maybe some of your experiences and tips on how to be successful, probably the first question, I'll open it up to our panelists, is what is a NSF career grant and its goals and its key components? And you all don't have to answer that, but that might be a good place to start. Any takers?
So I can go get started, Kevin. So for NSF career, the way I have seen this, it is really not a typical proposal that we write. Rather, you really want to write it in a way that the research and education go side by side. One of my mentors, he used to tell me that when he serves on career panels, the proposals that he likes is that we oftentimes try to separate education and research tasks separately, right? But the best way to write career proposals is that so that the panelists do not understand, oh, is it a research task or is it an education task? Is that much integration is needed? So that's one of the unique aspect of career proposal from my side. Yeah.
And I can also add on to that. And so career program is specifically designed for early career faculty members. So not like other programs that junior faculty will face a competition with the more senior faculty, more established faculty. So this program is only the include the competition from junior faculties. And also, there's a limitation of how many times you are allowed to submit career project. So only allows 3 times during your junior years. My career project was funded the third time of my submission. So of course, I know many people, they got the career the first time, also the second time. And however, I was the last third time was the charm for me. And so that's something different than a lot of other regular program.
Yeah, I would add that the career program is not an investment in the project, it's an investment in the faculty, in you to become a leader in your field. So it's really a springboard and not an end to itself. That's what I think differentiates it from other proposals. So it's an investment in you to become a leader, and don't be limited by the 5 year span of the funding. You should be, when you conceive your idea, it should be more long range than that. Think further out. And,
Not currently accepting messages because voice.
okay, don't know what that was, but so that's what I would add to that.
Yeah, I was going to say something similar, that it's really investment in like you as a leader in research and education and integrating them both. It's not just a research project, and that is really the key thing. And there are time limits by which you can apply based on when you're getting tenure and those kind of things. So that's something to be aware of. I was fortunate to get mine on my first submission, but I waited a long time. So I only had one more chance after the year I submitted before I would be not eligible anymore. And I intentionally waited longer so that I had a better pathway. and I had those experiences that I was able to discuss in mine. So I know that's moving on to the tips, but the information about career is on NSF's website. They have tons of great resources and slideshows about the program. And so look at everything. Look at all of that. And the sooner you start looking, the better. It marinates for a while.
Well, we'll move on to really kind of the primary focus we wanted to take today, and that is really to talk about the process that each of you use to develop your project, everything from how you decided on what that project might look like to which program you submitted to, and really give us any tips or recommendations, things that you learned along the way that it might be helpful to others that are seeking to follow in your footsteps and have successful career award proposals. So Elinor, Since you're the senior award winner, maybe we'll start off with you.
So weird. Yeah, so I think following on from what I said, when I came in and started as a new professor, right, I was like, I'm going to apply for a career award. And that was like the thing that everybody would do. And so I was very enthusiastic and I was like, yeah, I should do this like as soon as I can. So I have lots of opportunities, as many as I can to resubmit it. And I met with our kind of grant development specialists that existed at OU at the time, and we were talking about kind of research ideas and education. And at that point, I kind of realized I had almost too many ideas. Like I didn't have a clear idea of what my research would be for this. And I really didn't have a clear idea on the education side. I had so many ideas and I hadn't really done any of them yet. And so through these discussions, I was like, yeah, I think it's better for me to wait to get more experience with writing grants, to really develop my educational identity, so that I could write a career grant that was really compelling because I could see where it fits in my whole trajectory. Rather than doing it as soon as I possibly could, for me, it was definitely advantageous to wait a few years after being a faculty member. Because at that point, I had experiences in the education side, right? So I think everybody comes in with research experience. They've written papers, they've done all these things, but we don't always have that. We've taught in the classroom, but this needs to go beyond teaching in the classroom, right? So I'd had experiences with some of these, whether it's outreach or video production or running surveys with students. Like I'd had those experiences that I could really talk about and show that I was capable of doing. And that I think is the big difference. And I think is sometimes not as strong in us as scientists, as physical scientists. We don't have that part ready to go as quickly as we have the research side. So I can talk about this more, but give everybody a chance to speak.
Well, just real quick, so you said to wait. So would you suggest second year or third year, or what would you think would be ideal in looking back?
I mean, for me, it worked out. I essentially left mine to when I only had
زنگ بزنم به جولی تولدشه حوصله داری؟
I don't think we can hear people.
Kimia, Tabib,
Martin.
you are not muted. Can you mute real quick? I don't have the ability.
Yeah, whoever's the host should be able to mute. But I think when you wait is dependent on your tenure track situation. But I think it's helpful to don't just give yourself one chance, but also you don't waste that first chance of, well, I'll just do it because I can. Like, wait till you really have something substantial ready to go. I think Tiantian wants to say something along those lines.
Sure. So I have some different journeys in submitting the career grants, and in contrast to Dr. Martin, her strategy. And I think be prepared is a very good strategy, and just wait and gather the needed material and also the experience to highlight the research and education. So, but my approach was slightly detoured, and so in my second year or third year of my tenure track probation period, I heard about the career project, and I know I can try 3 times. So I intentionally shoot for the first time using some of the idea I have, and I did not wait. So once I know this program and gather some thoughts, I just write a proposal and shoot it. And so the goal of my first try, of course, I was not expected to be funded, and but I know many people got their career grants for the first time. My strategy was using the first time to really test out some of my ideas, and also my thinking or feeling or my interpretation of the career program, and then see how the reviewer and the panel reviewer they will evaluate, and then based on their comments, I made a significant improvement over the filter tries, and I think there's no golden strategy. Everyone may have their own strategy, slightly different, but I think it's good to try, and you have to really try it out until you know whether some strategy is good or not. So that's my 2 cents, and a slightly different strategy than Dr. Martin's approach.
And I will say I also may have applied earlier in different circumstances, but I also had a baby in my tenure track period, and that kind of changed
Complicated.
timelines of things. So, there's other life things that happen that might affect. But yeah,
Right.
there's no perfect time. This is just what worked for me.
Great. Thank y'all. Paul, how about you? Tell us.
Yeah, I chose to wait as well, and consciously said, okay, my tenure clock is this. I'll wait till then. That way I knew I could at least publish and get a good track record up and running. And one thing I would say is that, yeah, they do expect an exciting, bold sort of project. And maybe my colleagues here may correct me, but you don't want to take a huge risk where the reviewer might say, well, this may not work, and I don't know. You want to give them compelling reasons to show that it has a high chance of the project having a high chance of being successful. So I had that in my mind as I was writing. I didn't want to explore some very obscure problem that nobody has ever or cares about. So it needs to have impact and a compelling reason that you would say that you can convince the reviewer it would be successful. So that steered my choice. As Eleanor was saying, I had a lot of ideas. I don't know which one to go. So I picked one that I figured I have a good track record, and I can see this making a big impact. And then one of the issues I had was getting started, and everyone's different, but you have a blank page, you just write. You don't care about grammar, nothing. Just let it flow from you. And this is my technique. I just write it. And really, my first fresh draft was probably my best. Actually, I made very little changes when I went back in terms of grammar and spelling, but so that worked for me. I don't know, it may not work for others here, but whereas if you revise and revise and revise, it loses some of the, too much cooking sort of thing. So that's me. That's all I can really say at this time.
Thank you. Arif, how about some of your experiences?
Yeah, I think I'm the newest career artist. So I got my career last year, and I tried number 3, number 4, and number 5 years. So I skipped my first couple of years just to get introduced how this works. I started by submitting smaller grants, NSF Rapid, NSF I-Core, and then also some other grants. So, and then in the meantime, I was attending NSF career workshops, which was really helpful, especially the engineering directorate. They offer every year career workshop. During the COVID phase, it became online, but career workshop is really helpful in a way that you serve on mock panels. So they share with you some proposals from the previous cycles. Some of them were funded, some of them were not funded. So by serving on these panels, you get to know actually what is needed to be successful by reading these proposals very carefully and serving as a panelist. So you see both perspective from what the PI has written and what the panelists are expecting. So in my case, I mean, first couple of years I skipped, but then when I submitted first time, um, So what happened? I ended up submitting in an engineering program. So one thing is important for career proposal, as Dr. Moses mentioned, you just let it flow, come up with some good ideas and so on. But then also it is good to get feedback from the program directors. So once you have a white page ready, is it something that the program you're thinking is aligned, and if there's something they're expecting to fund for the relevance of the topic. Now, we also know NSF supports like interdisciplinary research, right? But for my research, as I said, I'm an civil engineer by training, but then my research is also heavy with social science and network science, data science. So it's kind of half and half balance if you think of the real science there. So engineering and social science. So I started by trying engineering because I'm engineer. I thought, well, there's also a program. It might be aligned. So first time when I submitted, they actually liked it. I was really encouraged. So I worked even harder. The second time, it was discouraged. The second time. So third time I had to switch programs. So it means seems like so then I talked to the program director of social science, but again, the way I was struggling kind of in a way that even the program directors were not able to uh, uh, understand, like if they're gonna, because they want to help you. So the social science directors, program managers, they were telling me, oh, engineering has more funding, go ahead and do that. That's why I listened to them, but then I was not able to convince the engineers. So then finally in the last time, so I thought, well, let me try and then if they don't have less funding in the social science directorate, they ended up funding it. So two program directors from two different programs jointly liked the idea, and they actually finally they jointly supported my proposal. One thing is also important because when you have really half and half interdisciplinary research, at least in between two disciplines, you want to identify a mentor, because as I said in the first couple of proposals, I had a good idea, but I was not able to articulate the way it should be. So one important thing is that you all may have an idea, but articulation is really important. So, and then when you articulate people, and if you talk to the experts in your own area, the way you're writing, it's not a lay audience centric write up. So I had a mentor from anthropology. So and then I kept talking with him, and then I met him once a month or every 2 weeks, getting feedback, what am I missing. And I ended up reading a lot of literature that I was missing to convince my idea. So I had to go back some articles from 1952, talking about how Aristotle thought about political and education and cultural differences. That was a pleasant experiences. I also ended up reading some of the books, because if we keep reading articles, research articles, well, these are already done, right? They have already a mindset ready. So reading some of the books, which is not a typical way we do literature review. So I had to go through some literature to convince the programs I was thinking and the idea also I'm proposing.
Excellent. Um, I'm curious, how important were having mentors or access to others who had been successful with these awards to your success? Were you on your own, or did you have some good people that you could talk to about your ideas? That's open to
The idea, well, as far as the ideas goes, no, I came up, I work basically that was on me, but the format of the proposal of the write-up, I had a colleague in the civil engineering department. I'm in the electrical department, so that's something I would really encourage is you to find a mentor, not in your own department, but also in another department that's totally different, and have look at their proposal and have them read your proposal, and they can give you some new insights in that you may not have thought of because you're just siloed into your discipline. So that helped me a lot. How to structure the proposal, visualization, good graphics, spending good time on detailed graphics using right colors and call block boxes and flowcharts and all that are readable to not just an expert but even a layman. So I learned that from a friend, and yeah, that sticks out in my mind. Mhm.
I think the more each faculty or applicants who wants to do career project or proposal talk to senior people in the either in the same department or outside department or the past career awardees definitely will be helpful. And I did my preparation over the past few years. Always I consult ideas and suggestions to all the senior faculties in our department, and they are very helpful. And especially if you have a department chair, because you do need a department chair support letter to go with your career project. So talk to your department chair and share the idea, and it depends on whether the department chair or had some availability, schedule some time and to go over your career project. And I personally found those very helpful in formulating some details and also to shape up some of the structure and ideas for the career project.
Yeah, I attended the OU hosted or hosts still like a career development workshop series. So we were fortunate to have that at our university, and I went to that several times. I think I did it in my first year, and that's when I realized I'm not ready for this. And then I did it later in other years, so I did it again and again, and that was actually helpful for that development with all of the expertise from the people running those workshops, and sharing things with other faculty members and reading other people's. So that for me was helpful. Because at the time I had a department chair who had never written a career award letter either. So that, there's also other challenges that exist, and not having somebody like a mentor for this specific thing. So.
Well, part of the reason for my question, I know both Arif and Tiantian are both from the same department, so it seems to me that maybe you've got something good going on there in your department. So I was just curious, if there was some additional or special support or mentorship or guidance that you got there in your
Yeah, Arif can add on as well. So we both Arif and I we came from civil and environmental science department, and we are a very collegial department, and always will help each other and regarding teaching research. And so during my past 6-7 years, when every time I wrote a career proposal, receive some feedback. I always chat with some different senior people, and they always are very helpful in providing many useful ideas and suggestions. And so I kind of like ensemble everyone's idea a little bit, and to put everything in the third try. And luckily, thanks for their help, the third one was selected. And so I think different department also has different culture, and so in our department we are very supportive to each other, especially for junior people shooting for career grants. And yeah, Arif, anything you want to add on?
Yeah, no. I totally agree with you, Tiantian. You are number 11, I'm number 12 career award in our
Right.
department. So something is really great here. One thing I wanted to mention, like I also because I already had 11 career awardees in my department. I took that as an opportunity because these people have lived through this experience. So I requested all of them when I had the proposal ready, and then not everyone is available, but at least 4 or 5 people did review it and give me feedback. As I said, engineering was also, I wanted to get some feedback from my department. I had my anthropology mentor from Florida, but then also engineer. So I have got feedback from different mentors in different ways. So it's really important. And the mentors need to be equally excited about it. That's the true definition of a mentor. Otherwise, I mean, the feedback you get may not be as helpful as. So finding the right people to review your career proposal, department director, obviously, and also some of the people in like at least have some NSF experience, because overall NSF they want transformational research, fundamental research, and also education is always an important component of any type of NSF proposal. So finding the right mentor and the reviewer is important. Yeah.
Yep. Fantastic. I've got one more quick question and then we'll open it up to the audience. So I know several of you submitted multiple times before you were successful. Did you deal with any contradictory reviews during that process? And if so, how did you handle that?
I can chime in this a little bit, and later others can share their experience. So I got my career grant the third time, and for the first and the second time, the proposal were reviewed by both ad hoc reviewers and panel reviewers. And so my case is very special, and during the first time, as I mentioned, I intended to receive some review comments and to improve the proposal. However, I think I did a great job in addressing all of the comments for the first time. And however, unfortunately, the second time, the review comments were in an opposite direction. So basically, you end up in a situation you follow a lot of their panel and reviewers' suggestion, but of course, this is the fact that every year the NSF career panel, especially different program, they rotate all those reviewers. They might have some continuity for the reviewer panel reviewers, but for the majority parts, there will be a new eyes looking at your same proposal, same revised proposal every year if you continue to submit for the second and third time. So then after I got the second time review, I saw this is a pretty contradictory to the first time review. And then I really sit down with a lot of senior faculty in my department and try to help me analyze what's the best strategy to going forward. And so eventually I took a solution. I ignored some of the major comments that were not in line with the first time review. And I thought the first time was very comprehensive, but the second time seems the panel reviewer may not from close fields. And so my experience on that was follow your feeling, and because you are the one that doing the specific work and the research, and so follow your feeling and judge whether some of the review is reasonable or not, and make your best decision going forward. Whether to revise or do not revise those reviews really depends on how you can judge those comments. And so that's my experience. And basically, for the third time, I did not make a huge change from the second time. I still follow the second time's structure and the contents. Only did a minor revision for some small parts. All the major parts, I basically left it out, and I thought the proposal was well written, and so it was a bold move, and luckily got funded for the third time. And I thought the third time reviewer acknowledged that the revision I did for the first time was a good revision, and so that's my experience, and it may not be the same to others. And So that's some special cases when I see some contradictory reviews, especially during different types.
And just wanted to add to Tiantian, Kevin, if is that okay. I also submitted 3 times, and as I said earlier, I was really encouraged by the same program the first year, and I worked harder the second year. But because this is a totally different panel, right? And no idea how they set up these panels and so on. But I got negative, like discouraging reviews, right? In fact, one of the reviewers said, "Do not submit it again." They're not supposed to say that, but I got the message there, and I did some pivoting. So that's what helped me to really switch to another program. And again, when you're doing really very highly interdisciplinary research, then what I did, my research can fit into engineering, computer science, and social science. I did send to all the program directors. They all like the idea, but also it depends on the methodology you're proposing. So computer science directors, they told me, well, no, this you're not making fundamental contribution in computer science. So I had to come out of it, and I ignored engineering because I didn't want to take another chance. Rather, the social science directors, they are saying, well, go ahead and submit it. But they did give me some. So that's the key thing here, because the program directors, they want you to be successful. They really want give you the right message. So the 2 programs that supported my career is human networks and data science, and human environment and geographical sciences. So one thing that was weak when I was submitting third time was the geography part. So the program directors, they suggested me, well, there will be geographers in the panel. So make sure you try to convince those reviewers. So that message came out from the program directors. So having this conversation, you can do a lot of pivoting. I stick to my original idea every time I submitted, because that's something I really want to do. Again, career proposal, you may have a lot of ideas, but something really you wanted to do, and Dr. Moses mentioned earlier also, is kind of what is beyond the 5-year span that you're planning for. So you really have to enjoy the idea. Another thing I wanted to wrap it up quickly is that if you really like the idea you're working on, doesn't matter if it is funded by a career mechanism, it can be funded by some other mechanism. If you're really running after. For example, when I was a PhD student, I was working on my advisor's career idea, which was not supported by career mechanism. It was submitted by some other mechanism. So if we really work on career type of ideas, it will get supported down the line.
Yeah, I think I will second that, and especially I totally agree with the Arif's comments. How do we treat with the career program? And I know there are many great professors and who did not have a career grants, and they are all successful. They all are the leaders in specific fields, and of course, my interpretation career program, sometimes you still need some luck in convincing the reviewer from time to time, and based on who are the reviewer are and what's the background of the reviewer, which program you are submitting your proposal, and so there are a lot of uncertainties in every step, and your project or your proposal, definitely, if it's not for career program, there will be definitely other program in NSF will support that as a regular submission, regular proposal. So my suggestion was don't be discouraged in the for the first try or second try was not selected, and keep trying, and we leave word of a trying, right? So just keep trying everything, and so and that's the take from my side as well.
I think I'll say that the career proposal might not be the best one for you and your ideas and your plans. Like, you don't have to do a career proposal, right? If you're not really excited about integrating research and education, then the career proposal is not for you. Like, it's not, the education part is not a paragraph at the end of, I'll do something with schools. Like, you really have to like it's an integral part of the proposal that's weaved throughout it. So if you're not excited by that, which is fine, you don't have to be. We don't all have to do the same things. Like it's okay, like to just go in a different direction.
I just wanted to add to Elinor because we have not talked about educational stuff a lot. I wanted to mention because the way you show this excitement, for example, in the first couple of years, I ended up attending education conferences. Education conferences help me understand what it means to be a great educator, how you really enhance students' learning in the classroom, hands-on experiences. That really helped me to write in my own words the educational task that is connected to my research. I was talking about developing a new course for both undergrad and undergrad, and also an online version because I also had experience before I submitted online teaching experience, because one of the tasks that I propose is to educate community volunteers in during disasters, like residents. Not It's not in the classroom. I have one task I talked about, typical educational task, but the other one I was connecting that task with educating the people, like a community level teaching to prepare next generation disaster volunteers, like Red Cross, they have existing mechanism, but how can I enhance those mechanisms to enhance people's understanding? So you really have to mean on the educational side of it. Otherwise, you're really pushing so hard without that type of motivation. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important to know that education is not just, I'll fund some grad students, but it also doesn't have to be, well, I have to be in a K through 12 classroom. Like that's not the only options in education. But I think it's also important to know that like when you're writing your proposal, just like your research plan is supported by literature and peer-reviewed journals, like your education plan should also be supported by the science of education. Like you should have references and citations and like understand the pedagogy of online teaching, if that's what you're saying that you're going to do, right? Like you have to have that same kind of background, at least in my opinion, and the proposals I've reviewed, that has been like a big difference between ones that have been successful and ones that haven't been successful. So like understanding education is important, just as important as understanding, you know, the limitations of machine learning or whatever other things that you're doing.
So we have a question in the chat about, did you consult with the program director when you resubmitted your proposal?
Yes, I mean, the first thing you should do, if once it is rejected, to talk to the same program director, right? To get to know what happened in the panel. You are reading the reviews through the online portal, but if you talk to the program director, he can give you an overall understanding how the panel, what type of impression you made to the panel and something like that. And then if you want to pivot to another program, then you should reach out to those program directors. That's how I did it. First talking to the original program director.
Very good. Shreya, I see your hand up.
Thank you, Kevin. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I think I have two questions if there's some time. The first question is, I'm right now submitting my second round of the proposal, and I wanted to understand from the people who've already submitted them, and as I understand, only Elinor is a first-time awardee, but when you address the comments from the reviewers and submit your revised version, do you have any advice or tips on how to demonstrate that you've addressed their concerns or comments? Because if I understand correctly, this is not a paper rebuttal, or we're not responding to a journal for their comments. We are trying to cohesively integrate their thoughts and the entire panel's ideas and discussion into our proposal in a more cohesive way. So how do we maybe explain to them in a short paragraph in the beginning of the proposal, or do we highlight somehow these changes that were made? Because if I understand correctly, the second time of reviewers may not be the same ones who've already reviewed it the first time. So any advice or tips on that would really be helpful, because the NSF has so many specific documents that you'd need to upload. I don't think there's space for you to upload something called a response to reviewers kind of a document. So any advice on that would be much helpful.
I can also I can take this and you have a very good question, Shreya, and I did ask the program manager the same question many years ago, and the universal and I think commonly agreed strategies do not address or do rebuttal in your proposal. Say something like I addressed this from prior year's comments, and so every time you submit your career proposal, treat that as the brand new and just new submission. However, you merge all of your revisions as part of your project description or narratives. And of course, this save time and you don't need to do the paper rebuttal of a reply to reviewers' comments. So treat that as a brand new submission, starting from the scratch that merge all the revision you want to do into the project's narrative. That's it. And because, as you mentioned, the panel may not be the same panel. They do not have any prior knowledge of what happened in the prior year's panel discussion. So every time they shall treat you, they are required to treat your proposal as a brand new submission and without any concerns or continuity from the past years. And of course, I do have some other experiences. I served in career panel discussion for a couple years, and there was one case I did review one same proposal consecutively 2 years. The proposer or actually did not address our comments from the previous year's panel discussion. That is a red flag. So this is really by chance if your panel has some continuity of your panel reviewer from last year to this year or the future year. Some reviewers who reviewed your proposal, they may still recall some of the key problems or issues they identified. So the best strategy is do your judgment to do your revision into the current submission, but treat that as a new writing as well. So I hope that is clear.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so Shreya, you don't have to address all the comments. Just be like some of the comments you do understand you missed it in the previous cycle, right? So try and address them as much as possible. Do not push yourself to address all of the comments, just the ones you think sincerely that, oh, I missed that last time, so let me work on it. So you have to approach in that way.
So there are two final comments in the chat, so I want to try to get to those really quick. The first one is for those of us working to integrate social science with community engagement and into engineering proposals, what advice do you have for making a strong case, especially in light of concerns that community science topics may be less prioritized in the current administration and funding landscapes, or is this something we should not worry about? Thoughts?
So I just shared a link for Richard to answer your question. Stick to your idea. NSF is not doing any filtering as of now based on keywords. So they say focus on the substance of your proposal. I'm submitting another proposal that has underserved in the title. So, but it's not just the words that you choose, it's the idea or the science that you are running after. So I think we're still good with how NSF value science. That's my understanding.
Excellent. The next one was related to how much did you align your research project with your current research areas versus expanding to a potentially new area that your ideas may have larger impact. So Elinor answered in the chat. Thoughts from the panel?
Yeah, you want to make sure, as I said, you don't want to go out on a limb. You do need to take some risks, but you want to be compelling enough to say, yes, you have the knowledge base and the experience to be able to mitigate that risk in embarking on a new direction of your research. So you have the publications that show you are an expert in that field. So it does have to align, I think, with your core expertise in a large way. But that does not say you're limited to you know what would be conventional research in your own field. You should feel free to, like for me, I knew there was not virtually nothing done in this well-known problem in a new environment, which is this high penetration of renewables. But I had the expertise and of what's been done before. So that would be my answer to that.
Well, we are at the end of our time. Sorry, I didn't manage our time a little bit better for more questions. But I want to thank all of our panelists. Congratulations on the Career Award. And for those of you participants, these guys would be great to reach out to. Hopefully I didn't volunteer them for anything they're not willing to do there. See, Paul just dropped his email in the chat. So next week we'll have another professional development topic related to high performance supercomputing. So mark it on your calendar if you're interested in that. It'll be on April 3rd during lunch again. So thank you, everyone. Thank you to the panelists for being here. And hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you,
Thank
Kevin.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.